Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to present the new tier 7 Italian tank destroyer, the SMV CC-56, or simply the oooBRUCEooo or CC-56. If you're interested in more reviews and gameplay, go to YouTube and search for World of Tanks with Bruce to get all of my videos, or click on the subscribe button. And now let's go. So what is this new tier 7 Italian tank destroyer all about? Well, first of all, it's all about using its gun depression and playing it hull down. Furthermore, it is all about using its strong armor, especially if it is playing hull down. And then the third thing is to use its autoloader and the new, let's say, reloading mechanic to its advantage. And as you can see, I am instantaneously reloading here because it only takes me about 15 seconds to reload the whole clip. And I am using the time that I need to go up this hill in order to reload so that I have the full clip available once I peek over this ridgeline. And then once again, I use my strong armor to peek out over the hill, play hull down, and then use this tank actually more or less to as a single shot tank. But in this period of time, my DPM is actually quite strong. Once my clip, or I should say until my clip is empty, and then I have to fall back and once again reload the clip. So this is what this new tank is all about. But before we start with more gameplay, let's quickly talk about the statistics of this tank. And I want to start with the armor profile, which is important to understand. So this is the new oooBRUCEooo 56, the tier 7 tank. Now, as you can see, the armor is superb for a tier 7 tank. 350 millimeters of turret armor at the side. Now next to the gun mantlet it is 260, approximately 259, and then the roof is an auto bounce angle with 237 millimeters of armor. Now this tank does have a cupola, however it is relatively small and very difficult to hit. However, if you're very stationary, if you're just sitting in front of your enemy, in front of your opponent tank, then this cupola can be hit and also penetrated because it is very weak. Now the upper hull is also relatively strong, as you can see, 227 millimeters, and if you use your gun depression, then this tank becomes a behemoth on tier 7. So as you can see, obviously this little portion here remains because the angle remains the same, but then this is 360, almost 400 millimeters, plus you're also hiding your cupola, and also your upper hull becomes relatively strong. Now what can you do if you play against an CC-56? Well, first of all, you can shoot here, so this is a weak spot. If this tank moves out of cover to a certain extent, then you can shoot here, and it will be easily penetrated by you. Plus, if the tank is not using its gun depression, and if it's turning the tank to the side, then there is the slim chance of hitting actually the back of the tank, as you can see. So keep this in mind, and for you as a CC-56 player, this means the optimum angle is actually that you want to be relatively frontally to your enemy tanks. Alright, so the only thing you have to keep in mind is, first of all, your lower plate here, your lower hull is relatively huge. And then you also cannot over angle your tank because you open up this weak spot for yourself. Now, in a tier 7 match or in a tier 7 tank, I feel that you get into tier 9 games a lot of times, and then things change. So let's take the AMX 30, a tier 9 tank, and keep in mind this is 2 tiers higher, against you. So the turret is still relatively nice, as you can see. However, your upper hull becomes penetrable for the opponent tank. Plus, as you have a very strong tank and as your armor profile is relatively strong, keep in mind that your opponents will likely use premium ammunition. And if premium ammunition on tier 9 is used, keep in mind then in this case even this strong armor profile does not work, and so you have to keep this in mind. But overall this tank is relatively strong, and the armor profile is decent, very decent for tier 7. Before we start with the first game, let me quickly show you how I play this tank. So first of all, I strongly believe that this tank needs a turbo in order to counter its abysmal mobility, and more to the mobility later on in this video. Then I'm playing the tank with improved aiming, plus with an improved rotation mechanism. Now, as you can see, my crew is relatively experienced. My commander has 6th sense, then brothers in arms, the recon skill, and now it is working on snapshot. And the gunner has once again brothers in arms, then the snapshot capability, and then the repairs. And I think this is a leftover actually. That's what I see right now. So I think this is due to the fact that I took this crew over from the tier 6 tank. So keep in mind that snapshot does not work on the commander on the tier 7 tank, because the tier 7 tank has 4 crew members compared to the tier 6 tank. And so yeah, just keep this in mind. So this is only a commander and this is only a gunner, and on tier 6 this is differently. So let's close this here. The driver has brothers in arms, then smooth ride, because I want to counter the ground resistance values of this tank, and therefore I'm also using off-road driving. So this is what I use on the driver. And then finally for the loader I have brothers in arms, then I'm using intuition, which is in my opinion the most important skill besides brothers in arms for the loader, in order to being able to switch the shell type very quickly. And then the third one is I am using repairs, and in general I use safe stowage on my loaders. However, I think that I play this tank frontally and brawl against other tanks, and the armor profile is so strong that I think repairs makes more sense on the loader compared to the other skill. Alright, first game with the CC-56. We are spawning on Pearl River, and as usual let's take a look at the map. Spawning on Pearl River in the north, the game usually develops like this, and with the CC-56 I want to go and support my heavy tanks and brawl with the other heavy tanks. Now on this position I can first of all play hull down, which is very suitable for this tank, but I can also use my good armor profile in order to help my heavy tanks. Now the CC-56 is in my opinion not designed to be a sniper tank, so I would not recommend to go to the, let's say, typical sniper position and conduct some sniping, but instead you want to brawl with this tank and support your heavy tanks. Okay, so that is exactly what we are going to do. We are trying to support our team on the heavy lane, and in this game we are in a mid-tier situation, and I think the armor profile will be strong enough in order to give us the chance to brawl with the enemy tier 8 heavy tanks. Now let's first of all take a look at the mobility, because as you can see I'm certainly not the fastest tank on the battlefield, also not compared to the other heavy tanks. So the top speed is limited to only 31 kph, which is not very decent. 10 kph reverse speed, also not the best value, and power to weight ratio of 14, which is, I would say, not the worst value. Now the traverse values are also relatively bad, so this tank turns around very slowly, and once you are encircled from a light tank, or let's say a fast medium tank, then you will have no chance of defending yourself. So this is completely different compared to the tier 6 tank. Now besides this, the terrain resistance values are also not the best ones, but you have 10 degrees of gun depression, and once again a very strong frontal armor layout. So that's what we are going to use right here. Now, in this tank, you are able to turn your turret 30 degrees to either side, which is an advantage compared to the tier 5 and tier 6 tank. And as you can see, this new mechanic is completely different to all of the rest of the autoloaders in World of Tanks. So you have quite some time between each shot. 7 seconds intra-clip reload, and then the whole reload time for the clip takes 17.26 seconds at least stock without any equipment, so we can bump it down to about 15 or 16 seconds. So this is how the new mechanics works. And yeah, as the enemy team did not really try to defend the heavy lane, we could easily win this portion of the map. And now we are going to push into the middle, and once again, as you can see, the tank is very slow and also very sluggish, so the mobility is really lackluster on this tank, and you pay a price for your good armor. Here you go, nice shot, and we can light him up. Excellent. And yeah, as you can see, the intra-clip reload also limits this tank, so this is not a typical autoloader. But let's take a look at the weaponry. 1800 base DPM is a very poor value. 320 alpha damage is nice, especially if you consider that you have a 3-shot autoloader. And then this means overall that you can make 960 alpha damage within 14 seconds. The gun handling itself is also lackluster. Not only do we have a base dispersion of 0.4, but also first of all, the rest of the dispersion values are not the greatest, but then also the aim time is relatively long. So 2.59 seconds means that, yeah, this is once again lackluster, and I would say the aim time alongside with the bad mobility and the sluggishness of the tank really hold this tank back. And you pay, in my opinion, a high price for your overall decent armor. And yeah, you can also say the fun factor for having an autoloader tank, despite with such a new mechanic. So yeah, 6-4. And now let's see, so okay, this tank is taken out of the game. Now can we get a shot on the Scorpion? Maybe. No. Maybe, but now, yeah, you have to fully aim in this shot, but we can make it. And now the Cromwell is taking a shot towards us, but that is not a problem. Now I go into the reload because I want to fight against the Cromwell, and I only have to here you go, here's the E25. So okay, now I have to fight against him. However, yeah, I don't want to get any more shots from the Cromwell, so I'm waiting until he falls back. And now once again, as you can see, the tank traverse is quite limited, and so yes, you have a rotatable turret 30 degrees to either side, but the tank is very sluggish. Now this E25, he could easily circle me. However, he makes the huge mistake to facehug me, and so he has no chance whatsoever of penetrating my frontal hull. If you facehug somebody, then keep in mind you will not be able to get a shot on the lower hull, which would be the only chance for him to actually penetrate me. Now I keep the third shot for this Cromwell. Here you go, and now he will try to shoot me, but as you can see, no chance for him, because once I can play hull down, this tank cannot be penetrated from or by tier 6 tanks. So yeah, this was the first impression, and now let's jump into the second game. Okay, second game. This time we are spawning on Tundra in the north, and once again, let's take a look at the map. Spawning on Tundra in the north, this is how the game usually develop, and with CC-56, with let's say a tank destroyer brawling tank, you have several options. You can first of all go to the heavy lane and support your heavies, which is a decent choice depending on the situation. But then you can also go and help your team to win the hill. And in my opinion, in general, the strategic position, so the important position on this map is the hill. So I would, let's say in general, rather try to win the hill than helping your heavies on the one lane. Alright, so that is exactly where we want to go. We are once again in a mid-tier situation, so this means that our armor profile is strong enough to fight against tier 8 heavy tanks. Now there's only one tier 8 heavy tank, which is the AMX 5100 in the enemy team as well as in our team, and so yeah, the best armor profile of any tank in this game is actually the 122 TM. So yeah, I said that I wanted to support my team in winning the hill, but as you can see, my slow mobility and the very bad terrain resistance values are kind of yeah, not helping me out. I arrive at the hill at basically the last tank. Well, despite the AMX 5100, but I think he did not want to go to the hill. And now I want to use my armor profile in order to play hull down and make some shots on the enemy tanks. So let me see, can we get a shot? Yes, if he peeks out. So our advantage right here in this position is that we can play hull down and only show our upper hull, and our turret, which you saw, is relatively strong. Now the opponent Controcaro 56 needs to show his lower hull if he peeks out, and so we definitely have an advantage and can take shots into his lower hull. Right, this is obviously a very nice gift of the heavy tank number 6 driver. Thank you, thanks a lot. And so yeah, just to complete the statistics, we already talked about the armor profile. Just to give you the numbers, 220 millimeters of hull armor, at least of upper hull armor, and 260 millimeters of turret armor, which is once again a very decent value. 1200 HP is, in my opinion, quite usable on tier 7. Here you go, now we have to reload. And then this tank only has 350 meters of view range, so it's basically the exact opposite of compared to the tier 6 tank. And if you haven't checked out this video already, just feel free to check out the video about the BRUCEooo on tier 6, which is linked right here. So yeah, compared to the BRUCEooo, you don't get a spotter tank, you have a rotatable turret, you have quite some decent armor. However, your tank is relatively sluggish and has yeah, is even slower with its 31 kph top speed. But now, as you can see, we are playing in a hull down position and there's no tank which can penetrate us. So the best games for this tank, due to its lackluster DPM and also its lackluster speed, are games which are very slow. So the current meta is not the best meta for this tank, but if you find a game in which you can dictate the pacing of the game and keep the pacing relatively low, then this tank can really shine, especially if you manage to sit in a hull down position like we do right now. Let me tell you one more thing about this auto-loading mechanic of the new Italian tank destroyer. So in general, the DPM is relatively poor. However, this is only if you take the whole reload time into consideration. Now, if your clip has reloaded, you are basically down to a single shot tank because of the very long intra clip reload of 7 seconds in this tier 7 tank. But in this, what is it, 14-second period of time, your DPM is relatively high because you only need to reload 7 seconds for 320 alpha damage. And so you can make use of this, and you have to make use of this if you want to have an advantage on the battlefield. So keep in mind that all the other single shot tanks need more time than you do in order to reload the shell. So this is what you should keep in mind, if you are brawling and if you want to out DPM your opponents, you can actually out DPM other tanks in the time where you are reloading your shot. Now the Tiger 1 is a good player trying to go to our side, but now I want to use it. I want to get a shot on the AMX to take him out, and now I can focus on the Tiger 1. Now once again, the mobility is very lackluster, so it takes years to turn around this tank, and this is a hindrance for this tank. Now I think in this situation I should go into the reload, because that is another advantage. As it takes so long for a single shot to reload, your opponent quite often does not know whether you have reloaded your shots or not. So this is another thing that you can use to your advantage. And now, so we have reloaded our clip, but it looks like this Tiger 1 player is not making any mistake. A pretty good player if you ask me, and the game is already lost. No chance that we are able to win it. However, we can make some more damage. So now, yep, I've taken a shot, and so this player is able to finish me off. Now if you're playing against the CC-56 for example, or another let's say T8 or T9 or T10 Italian tank destroyer, keep that in mind. If this tank has shot once, yes, he has an autoloader, but he needs a couple of seconds, so quite some time to conduct the second shot. So you still have time to finish off this tank, or to at least give one shot in return. So keep that in mind. And now let's jump into the third and last game. Alright, the third and last game. This time we are spawning on Pilsen, and as usual, let's take a look at the map. Spawning on Pilsen in the south. This is how the game usually develops, and with the CC-56 you have once again several options. You can play the typical tank destroyer position, which is a sniping position right here. You can go to the zero lane and try to support your medium tanks. However, and once again, as a brawling tank, I want to support my heavy tanks, so I want to go to this position and see what I can do. Now you could also press to this position. However, from this position, once you arrive there, there's no way out, because you will get taken under fire by this tank here. So from this position I can take shots on those tanks here, maybe on those tanks, but I can also fall to this position and shoot on tanks which are entering this area right here. Alright, so this is exactly what we are going to do. And yeah, the third game is always there to kind of make a conclusion. And so what do I think about this tank? Well, first of all, I have to say once again, we are in a mid-tier situation, and let me tell you, when I was playing this tank, I had quite often the situation that I was the low tier tank, and I think one difficulty of playing this tank is to switch between being mid or top tier or being low tier. And as I said in at the beginning of the video where we were talking about the armor profile, this is quite a substantial difference because of the armor profile, how it is designed. So I had quite some problems of switching between being a tank which has an excellent armor profile and being a tank where the armor profile is lackluster and where enemy tanks can relatively easily penetrate my tank. So this is the thing that I want to tell you, because then maybe your games will be much easier, and you can yeah, do this switch more easily maybe. Now the other thing you have to keep in mind is, as you can see, I am loading premium ammunition because it has 212 millimeters of penetration, and the penetration value of only 175 on the standard shell, as you can see, is in my opinion, a bit lackluster, certainly for a tank destroyer. So this is another limit of the tank. So as soon as you are not top tier, your penetration is a bit lackluster. As soon as you are low tier, your armor becomes lackluster. However, on the other side, in every game, your mobility is lackluster and the tank traverse is horrible. But if you can find a situation in which you are, in which the game is a little bit, slower than the typical 5-minute World of Tanks game, and if you can play hull down, then you have a very strong tank which is so fun to play. And so this tank has those two sides, and yeah, little spoiler, we will see a fantastic shot in a bit. Okay, so we've just evaded the shot, and now look at this. Here you go. This is a sniper tank, isn't it? So yeah, obviously it is not. This is a very seldom shot. But if you fully aim in, then the gun is actually not as trollish as, for example, the gun of the CS-52 Liz, for example. So yeah, this tank is a tank which has two sides, one of them being extremely strong. You can play hull down like a god. You can dominate your opponents in a hull down situation, not only tier 6 tanks, but also tier 7 tanks and also tier 8 tanks. You have a very new and unique playstyle, which is very interesting. And yeah, the drawback of this tank is the bad mobility. And I would also say the penetration value. And so yeah, I think this tank is actually nicely balanced, and I don't think that this tank is overpowered. Now we'll see how the rest of the Italian tank destroyers are, but this tank is nicely balanced. It is very unique. Once again, Wargaming has brought a very unique tank into the game, and it is certainly, in some situations, certainly a very decent tank, a very strong tank, but in other situations you will just yeah, the tank is lackluster, and you will start hating this tank. So overall, I would say good job Wargaming. This tank is extremely dependent on the right situation, as I just said, and so yeah, just try it out. It has some fun moments and also some bad moments. Now back to the game. I want to evade this situation because I don't want to get further shots of the opponent CC-56, because he could more or less play hull down, whereas I could not. Always having to peek around this corner, and so I wanted to fall back into the middle, because once again I think the game is unfortunately already a loss. However, I can continue to make some damage with some repositioning. So there's the Vipera, the tier 8 here we go, the tier 8 Italian tank destroyer. We can finish off the heavy tank number 6. Nice. And now I need to reload my tank, and now let's see. So here you go. Maybe I can get a no, actually, you know what, let's peek around the corner and see whether the Vipera is still in this position. Maybe he has, no, he actually is, because I am spotted. Okay, so he's still in the same position. Once again, the reverse speed of only 10 kph is super slow. There you go. Peek around this corner, but in a hull down position, so he has a hard time penetrating us. And now what I want to do is I want to wait for the support of the KV5. So I certainly want to evade the Vipera, and he's moving around. Okay, so I need to run and use the abysmal mobility in order to, okay, now he's turning around. Okay, so let's once again fall back. This is where this tank really sucks, the reverse speed. And now I need the help of the KV5. Maybe we can still turn around this game, but we need to kill the Vipera on time. Here you go. Nice. So I should have... I should have kept moving to this side earlier, and I think now I need to... okay. Okay, this CC-56 is moving forward. Okay, so now I can farm him. So let us see. Here you go. Here's... nice, and now... see, I need to finish him off. I'm falling back, which is bad. But he makes the mistake of pushing me, and so I can take him out. And now I need to help the KV-5 to kill the Vipera. This is why I'm holding my shot, not reloading the clip. And now, yeah, need to kill him. See, here you go. So the game is once again very close. He shot my gun, which is very unfortunate because now I have lost my repair kit. But now I should make sure to take out the VZ-44 as soon as possible. For him I need... okay, that was very unfortunate. Maybe the game losing moment, because he killed my gun. That is very unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. I thought we could have a chance still in this game, but now... yeah, okay. Yeah, I can get a shot, but... could have needed a little high roll here. And the problem is... yeah, okay. Very unfortunate in this situation. So once again, we lose another game, but that's alright. I think you got a good... impression on the CC-56, the Control Caro on tier 7. And yeah, overall I think it's an interesting tank. Certainly not overpowered, certainly not a strong tank, you know, in all fields, in every game. Situationally extremely strong, however quite nicely balanced from Wargaming, so good job Wargaming. Alright guys, that was it for today with the new tier 7 Italian tank destroyer, the CC-56. How do you like this tank? Did you enjoy playing it? Are you going to grind the new tank destroyer line? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.